The Zodiac Killer. Northern California in the late 1960s was a region in flux. The counterculture movement of San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury was at its height. Across the bay, students protested the Vietnam War. Civil rights marches filled the streets. The nation was grappling with change, often violent and chaotic. Yet in the suburban towns northeast of the bay, like Vallejo and Benicia, life still retained much of its small-town quiet. That quiet would be shattered in December 1968. On the cold night of December 20th, 1968, two teenagers, David Faraday, 17, and Betty Lou Jensen, 16, set out for a simple evening. David, a high school senior known for his gentle, earnest manner, was taking Betty Lou on their first official date. They had planned to attend a Christmas concert, but instead decided to drive out to Lake Herman Road, a rural stretch on the outskirts of Benicia popular as a lover's lane. The couple parked in David's Rambler station wagon on a gravel turnout. At some point between 10:30 and 11 p.m., another car pulled up alongside them. The driver stepped out carrying a small caliber pistol, later identified as a .22 caliber J.C. Higgins semi-automatic handgun. What happened next would mark the beginning of one of the most infamous serial murder cases in American history. The assailant ordered the teenagers out of the car. David was shot once in the head at point-blank range. Betty Lou fled but was shot 5 times in the back as she ran. Both died at the scene. The double homicide shocked the local community. Investigators from the Benicia Police Department and Solano County Sheriff's Office scoured the turnout for evidence, but found no eyewitnesses, no footprints, and no apparent motive. In 1968, it was treated as a tragic but isolated attack. No one yet suspected that a serial killer had begun his campaign. 6.5 months later, he struck again. On the night of July 4, 1969, as Vallejo celebrated Independence Day, Darlene Farron, a 22-year-old waitress and young mother, met up with her friend Michael Mageau, 19. Near midnight, they drove to the secluded parking lot at Blue Rock Springs Park, a popular spot for couples. Moments after they parked, another vehicle pulled up beside them. It lingered briefly, then drove away, only to return 10 minutes later. The driver stepped out, shined a flashlight into their car, and without a word opened fire with a 9mm Luger pistol. 5 shots ripped through the vehicle. As Mageau writhed in pain, the gunman walked away, then returned to fire 2 more shots, ensuring both victims were incapacitated. Darlene Farron was mortally wounded and died at the hospital. Michael Mageau, though critically injured, survived and later described the shooter as a stocky white male, approximately 5 feet 8 inches tall, with short brown hair. The attack immediately suggested a connection to the Lake Herman Road murders. Young couple, secluded lover's lane, no apparent motive, and cold efficiency. But the link was not merely circumstantial. About 40 minutes after the shooting, the Vallejo Police Department received a phone call. A calm male voice reported the Blue Rock Springs attack in chillingly matter-of-fact tones, then added that he had also killed the couple on Lake Herman Road the previous December. The caller spoke as though reporting a routine incident, revealing details never made public. For Vallejo police, the realization was devastating. A serial killer was on the loose. On August 1, 1969, 3 major Bay Area newspapers, the Vallejo Times-Herald, San Francisco Chronicle, and San Francisco Examiner, each received an envelope containing a handwritten letter. Each letter claimed responsibility for both shootings and included 1/3 of a cryptogram composed of 408 symbols. The writer demanded that all 3 papers print their sections of the cipher on the front page, warning that he would otherwise embark on a kill rampage. The decision to publish was fraught. Newspapers worried about inciting panic, but also feared triggering more violence if they refused. In consultation with police, they chose to comply. Within days, a local high school teacher, Donald Hardin, and his wife Betya, cracked the cipher. The decrypted message did not reveal a name. Instead, it delivered an unnerving manifesto. "I like killing people because it is so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all. I will not give you my name because you will try to slow down or stop my collecting of slaves for the afterlife." The letter closed with a strange symbol, a circle with a cross through it. It would become the killer's calling card. On August 7, 1969, another letter arrived at the San Francisco Examiner, beginning with the now iconic line, "This is the Zodiac speaking." From that moment, the anonymous murderer had a name, the Zodiac Killer. If the first two shootings had the hallmarks of calculated gun attacks, the next crime displayed a theatrical brutality. On the warm autumn afternoon of September 27, 1969, Brian Hartnell, 20, a pre-law student at Pacific Union College, and Cecilia Shepard, 22, a friend he had invited for a lakeside picnic, relaxed on the grassy shores of Lake Berryessa near Napa. Around 6:30 p.m., a man emerged from the trees wearing a bizarre black hood, shaped like an executioner's mask, with a bib-like chest covering that bore the Zodiac's cross-circle symbol. He carried a gun and claimed he was an escaped convict on the run. He ordered the couple to lie on the ground and tied them up with pre-cut lengths of clothesline rope. Without warning, he drew a long-bladed knife and stabbed them repeatedly, 10 times in total. Hartnell survived. Cecilia, grievously wounded, slipped into a coma and died 2 days later. Before leaving, the killer approached Hartnell's Volkswagen Karmann Ghia parked nearby and scrawled a message in black marker on the driver's door. Vallejo, December 20, 1968. July 4, 1969. Sept 27 to 69 6:30. By knife. The inscription linked the previous attacks and brazenly claimed the crime as his own. A man matching the suspect's description later called the Napa County Sheriff's Office from a payphone to report the attack and confess once again. Just 2 weeks later, the Zodiac struck again, this time in the heart of San Francisco. On the night of October 11, 1969, Paul Lee Stein, a 29-year-old cab driver, picked up a passenger near Union Square. The man requested a ride to the upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood. At the destination, the passenger suddenly pulled a 9mm pistol and shot Stein in the head at point-blank range. He then calmly cut away a piece of the victim's blood-stained shirt before leaving the cab. The murder was witnessed by 3 teenagers looking out from an upstairs window. They quickly called the police and gave a description of the suspect: a white male, stocky, with a crew cut. A tragic miscommunication followed. The initial police broadcast mistakenly described the suspect as a black male, causing responding officers to overlook a white man they encountered just minutes later near the scene. Many investigators believe that man was almost certainly the Zodiac himself. Days later, the San Francisco Chronicle received yet another letter from the killer. Unclosed was a swatch of Paul Stein's shirt, proving the writer's involvement. The letter mocked police and threatened to begin shooting children as they stepped off school buses. The murder of a cab driver in the city center, followed by a taunting letter with a gruesome trophy, shocked the Bay Area and made the Zodiac a household name. The Presidio Heights killing of Paul Stein changed the tenor of the investigation. The first 3 known attacks had targeted young couples in secluded spots. This one struck in the heart of San Francisco, in the middle of a bustling city neighborhood. The Zodiac's message was clear. He could kill anywhere, at any time, and even the city's streets were not safe. In the weeks after Stein's murder, fear spread across the Bay Area. Parents accompanied their children to school. Taxi drivers looked warily at their passengers. Police departments in San Francisco, Vallejo, Benicia, Napa, and Solano County began working in uneasy coordination, sharing evidence but often clashing over jurisdiction. The Zodiac fed on the public's anxiety. He continued sending letters to newspapers, sometimes long, rambling screeds, other times short notes, always signed with his circle and cross emblem. The letters often ridiculed the police, boasting that he was crack-proof, and at times included fragments of Stein's shirt as proof that the real killer was still at large. One letter threatened, "I shall no longer announce to anyone when I commit my murders. They shall look like routine robberies, killings of anger, and a few fake accidents." Another, sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in November 1969, taunted police. School children make nice targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning. Just shoot out the front tire and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out. Although the Zodiac never carried out that threat, it deepened public fear and added pressure on law enforcement. The Zodiac mailed several more cryptic messages after the first 408-symbol cipher had been solved by Donald and Betya Hardin. In November 1969, he sent a 340-symbol cipher to the Chronicle. Unlike the first code, this one resisted solution for decades. Many amateur and professional cryptographers tried and failed to crack it. It was not until December 2020, more than 50 years later, that a team of 3 codebreakers, David Oranchak, Sam Blake, and Jarl Van Eyck, announced they had deciphered the so-called 340 cipher. The FBI later confirmed the solution. Rather than giving a name, the message mocked efforts to identify the killer. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me. The reference to slaves in the afterlife echoed the original 408 cipher message, reinforcing that the same hand had written both. On the night of March 22, 1970, a young woman named Kathleen Johns was driving on Highway 132 near Modesto with her infant daughter. She noticed a car behind her flashing its lights. When she pulled over, the driver told her one of her wheels was loose and offered to help. He appeared to tighten the lug nuts, but soon after she resumed driving, the wheel came off. The man offered her and the baby a ride to a nearby service station. Instead of taking them to safety, he drove around aimlessly for more than an hour, making veiled threats. Fearing for her life, Johns eventually jumped from the car with her child and hid in a field until the man drove away. When she later reported the incident to the police, she saw a composite sketch of the Zodiac and said he resembled her abductor. The Zodiac later sent a letter to the Chronicle boasting that he had given a rather interesting ride to a woman with a baby. Though many investigators believe Kathleen Johns encountered the Zodiac, the case remains officially unconfirmed because of conflicting details and lack of direct evidence. Throughout 1970 and into early 1971, the Zodiac continued to send taunting letters, greeting cards, and ciphers to the newspapers. Some included diagrams for bombs he claimed to be constructing. Others contained new ciphers that have never been conclusively solved. The tone of the correspondence shifted from the initial gloating over murders to more scattered ramblings, references to pop culture, and veiled threats. One of the last widely accepted authentic Zodiac letters was received by the San Francisco Chronicle in January 1974, known as the Exorcist Letter, in which he mocked the popular horror film and claimed his tally of victims had risen to 37. No independent evidence has confirmed that number. Authorities still officially attribute 5 murders and 2 attempted murders to the Zodiac. After 1974, the authentic Zodiac communications largely ceased, though hoax letters continued to appear for years. From the earliest days, police collected and investigated hundreds of possible suspects. One name has often dominated public discussion: Arthur Lee Allen, a former elementary school teacher from Vallejo. Allen came to the attention of investigators in 1971 after a friend reported that he had spoken about wanting to kill couples and used the name Zodiac. He owned a watch bearing the same circle cross logo. He also had a history of troubling behavior and lived near the sites of some of the attacks. However, investigators could never produce conclusive evidence linking Allen to the crimes. His handwriting did not match the Zodiac's letters, and searches of his home and property turned up no incriminating items. Allen died in 1992. In 2002, a partial DNA profile obtained from envelopes licked by the Zodiac did not match Allen. Other suspects have been proposed over the decades, some by police, many by private researchers and amateur sleuths, but none has been confirmed. The case remains officially unsolved. In recent years, advances in forensic technology have revived hopes of identifying the Zodiac. Investigators have re-examined evidence such as stamps and envelopes from the Zodiac's letters, hoping to extract touch DNA. However, contamination from decades of handling and degradation of samples have posed major challenges. The success of forensic genealogy in cases like the capture of the Golden State Killer in 2018 has inspired renewed efforts. Authorities in California have reportedly compared available DNA from the Zodiac case to public genealogy databases, but no confirmed match has been made public. The Zodiac killings terrorized the Bay Area during the late 1960s and early 1970s, and the mystery has endured for more than half a century. The case influenced security measures for schools and transit, changed how multiple law enforcement agencies coordinated investigations, and highlighted the challenges of dealing with a killer who sought publicity. The Zodiac became a dark figure in American culture, inspiring numerous books, documentaries, films, and even copycats. Works such as Robert Graysmith's 1986 book Zodiac, David Fincher's 2007 film of the same name, and many television specials have kept public attention on the case, though some popular accounts have been criticized for presenting speculation as fact. More than 50 years after the first attack on Lake Herman Road, the Zodiac case remains one of the most famous unsolved serial murder investigations in history. 5 known victims were killed: David Faraday, Betty Lou Jensen, Darlene Ferrin, Cecilia Shepard, and Paul Stein, and 2 others survived: Michael Mageau and Brian Hartnell. The possibility that the Zodiac committed other murders remains a subject of debate, but only those 5 deaths are officially confirmed. The unsolved ciphers, the taunting letters, the dramatic costume at Lake Berryessa, and the brazen killing in San Francisco have made the Zodiac a symbol of both fear and fascination. For the families of the victims, however, the case is not a legend but a continuing wound, an enduring reminder of lives stolen and justice unfulfilled. If you found this deep dive into the true story of the Zodiac Killer informative, please consider subscribing to the channel True Crime Spectrum for more thoroughly researched true crime documentaries. Your support helps keep the focus on accurate reporting and respect for the victims.